As a solo founder running RA Works, I was constantly digging through folders looking for information I knew I documented somewhere. This included information about past clients, code structures, and their requirements. Every time I needed to reference a past project, I was clicking through folders, searching my drive, and checking notes, eating into time I should have been spending on actual client work. So I built Orion, an AI knowledge assistant that instantly retrieves any information from my project history with cited sources. Let me show you how I built it and how the same system could work for your business. This case study is for you if you're constantly searching through your own project files and client documentation. You recreate work you've already done before because finding the original is harder than starting fresh. You need to reference past projects when scoping new clients, but it takes too long. You have years of valuable documentation with no good way to search through it all. If that sounds familiar, I'll show you exactly how I solved this problem for myself. Let me show you what my workflow looked like before Orion. I'd be on a discovery call with a prospect asking about similar projects I've done. I'd tell them, yes, I built something similar for another client, then have to say, let me find that and send you the details after this call. Then I'd spend 15 to 20 minutes searching through my drive, trying to remember what I named that folder, checking different client directories, and looking through old proposals. Or I'd be scoping a new chatbot project and think, I know I've solved this exact problem before, but finding which project it was and pulling up the old code took longer than just figuring it out from scratch again. I had everything documented. The information existed. But having it documented and having it accessible are two completely different things. As a solo founder, every minute I spent searching for my own past work is a minute I'm not scoping new projects, delivering client work, or actually building things. I needed a system where I could ask a question about any past project and get an instant cited answer. Here's what I built. Orion is a RAG system, retrieval augmented generation, that combines document indexing with AI-powered question answering. I feed it all my project documentation, proposals, technical specs, code structures, client requirements, meeting notes, and completed project details. GraphRAG indexes everything into a knowledge graph. When I need information, I ask through a chat interface. The question triggers an innate workflow that retrieves the most relevant information and generates a cited answer. The key difference from regular search is GraphRAG understands relationships between concepts. If I ask, what code structure did I use for the Stella chatbot? It understands that the Stella chatbot refers to a specific project and returns the relevant technical documentation, not just keyword matches. The workflow starts with a webhook that receives my question from the chat interface. The first thing it does is validate the data, making sure there's actually a message in session ID. If validation fails, it routes to an error handler that returns a helpful message instead of breaking. This is production-grade error handling. The system fails gracefully. Once validated, the system creates or updates a session record in the database. This tracks when I started a conversation and how many questions I've asked. Over time, this gives me data on what I'm searching for most frequently. It stores my question in a messages table with a timestamp and session ID. This builds conversation history so follow-up questions have context. It retrieves the last 10 messages from this session so the AI agent knows what we've been discussing. If I ask, what about the budget? After asking about a specific project, it needs that context. Here's the core intelligence. The GraphRAG HTTP request calls out to my Knowledge Graph API with my question. GraphRAG has indexed every document I fed it: PDFs, Markdown files, Word docs, and code files. It understands entities like project names, client names, and technical concepts and relationships between them. When I ask about a project, it doesn't just match keywords. It understands I'm asking about a specific entity and returns the most relevant information chunks from documents related to that project, ranked by relevance. This is why it's smarter than just searching my Google Drive. Drive would return every file with the word chatbot. GraphRAG returns the specific project I'm talking about. The retrieved information feeds into a GPT-4 agent with specific instructions. Cite your sources, add number references after every claim, and list the source documents at the end. So instead of just getting an answer, I get a detailed explanation of where the sources came from to create the summarized response. Then the actual sources at the bottom. I can click on those sources and verify exactly where the information came from. No hallucinations, just cited facts from my own documentation. Everything logs back to the database, the response, the sources used, response times, and retrieval metrics. This gives me visibility into how the system is performing. Now here's the part I usually don't show in demos. When I'm scoping a new project, I ask questions like, what was the code structure I used for that last N8N chatbot? And get an instant answer with the exact source document. During discovery calls, I can reference past project scopes in real time instead of saying I'll send it after the call. Every completed project, I make sure the documentation gets indexed. This means my knowledge base grows with every client. This hasn't eliminated all searching, but it's reduced the time I spend digging through files from 15 to 20 minutes per search to 3 to 5 seconds per question. And more importantly, I actually reference my past work now. Before, the friction was so high, I just recreate things. Now I can build on what I've already done. As a solo founder or small agency, you can't afford to waste time searching for information you've already documented. But you also can't operate without that institutional knowledge. Orion shows a different approach. Index everything into a knowledge graph. Use AI to understand relationships. Retrieve with citations so you can trust the answers. The same pattern works for larger organizations. The efficiency gains scale. If you have 10 people all searching through a shared documentation, the time savings multiplies. You don't need perfect organization. You just need intelligent retrieval that understands what you're actually looking for. This works particularly well for service businesses with years of client projects and documentation, educational institutions with scattered knowledge bases, any organization where people waste time searching for information they know exists. Reach out to me on my website and we can discuss what information you're currently struggling to access, what your document landscape looks like with Google Drive, Notion, SharePoint, or email, whether this approach makes sense for your scaling use case, and what a realistic timeline and investment would look like. Because this is early stage and I'm building out client implementations, I'm able to offer competitive pricing. You would be working directly with me, the person who built the original system and understands it inside and out. If you're dealing with scattered knowledge and open to being one of the first deployments, let's have a conversation. No hard sell, just a technical discussion about whether this would work for your situation. I'll be honest if I think there's a simpler solution that would better fit your needs. I built this because I had this problem. And if you have something similar, let's figure out a situation for you and see how we can make your business work smarter, not harder.